The Disney company has several new lands in production right now, ready to be opened, but it looks like we're going to be getting one of them before the others. Tropical Americas and Animal Kingdom might be the next land to open in Walt Disney World. What does this mean for things like Cars Land and Villains Land in the Magic Kingdom? Let's take a look at it today on That Park Place. All right, Vash, so when will the Tropical Americas open? I gotta close this little video over here because they're doing this stupid thing with the Muppets that I hate. When they actually show the puppeteer, I hate that so much. So this is Jumbo from Animal Kingdom. This is from Disney Tourist Blog, written by Tom Bricker. He says, in the span of only a month, Walt Disney World has made major showing it again over here. Walt Disney World has made major progress on Tropical Americas. Given the latest milestone and pace of construction only days before the 2026 D23 Expo, we're wondering whether Walt Disney World will reveal not just details about Indiana Jones Adventure and the Encanto Magical Madrigal Casita attraction, but also opening dates. That's very interesting to say here, Vash, because it does look like this would be their last opportunity to do so at a D23. So what we're expecting from the Tropical Americas at the 2026 D23 Expo, as the only project at Walt Disney World that is definitely opening before the 2028 D23 Expo, this is the event for really pulling back the curtain on Tropical Americas. We've already seen a detailed model of Tropical Americas that was on display at the last D23 Expo and is now in Walt Disney Presents at Hollywood Studios. Given that, we're expecting Tropical Americas to get deep dive treatment at the 2026 D23 Expo, which is inside the attractions. Now, let's have a look here, Vash. It looks like this is the entrance right here to Tropical Americas. We've got a fountain here in the center. This looks like an attraction building over here, actually. Doesn't it?
Yes, it does. But I think it's just
attraction.
No, I think it's just maybe perhaps the accompaniment. The various shops and restaurants that used to be there that are rebranded.
Maybe. But when you come over here, you have the casita over here, and here's the attraction building for that ride. So I'm assuming that's going to have a pretty cool queue that winds around inside the house, and then you actually go in through here. Now over here, you have the Indiana Jones attraction. There's the attraction building back there. Obviously, this is mostly just a reskin. It's probably going to have the same exact track layout as Dinosaur had. So, all right, let's see what they're saying here. This should mean new concept art and details about show scenes, model ride vehicles, story specifics for each attraction, and proper names. Footage of audio animatronics and effects being tested by Imagineers would be sure to impress the D23 audience. I wouldn't expect Imagineering to reveal everything about Encanto and Indiana Jones attractions, as they'll want to save something to tease in the lead up to opening. I think that Tom Bricker is being a little optimistic here, Vash. This is still something that's over a year. That's probably over a year away. I don't think they're showing you anything yet.
I think they're showing you very little. Maybe some animatics, maybe some pre-visualizations, but nothing really like crazy groundbreaking. I mean, maybe you get an animatronic video footage of it. We've seen that with like I think back in the day, Shanghai Zootopia may have showed off the Clawhauser animatronic back in the day at a D23 Expo, if I remember correctly. Anyway, it's just I don't know. That is a little bit optimistic to me. I will say, Marvin, I think Tom Bricker is right in that I think an enhanced emphasis will be placed on Tropical America specifically because, like you pointed out at the beginning of this article, it is the project that will be opening before the next D23 Expo. So this is really the only time I can actually showcase this substantially.
I think we're probably going to get something along the lines of we'll go behind the scenes at the construction site. We'll get an Imagineer standing there being like, it's going great.
And so what we've tried to do is really bring that shape language from the architecture. But like what we love to talk about at WDI is shape language. And we often refer to shape language.
There's such iconic shape language in Spaceship Rivetti attraction. We really wanted to make sure that we fused to that throughout the space.
Yeah, I think you're going to get stuff like that. I don't think you're getting anything in particular. I think Bricker is setting himself up for disappointment. So he says, I wouldn't expect Imagineering to reveal everything. Oh, we read that part already. For instance, the larger-than-life climactic scene in Encanto would be a good reveal. Disney already told us about this scene where Antonio has just received his special gift, the ability to communicate with animals, and his room is transformed into a rainforest, and even showed us a piece of concept art. But there's a reason to believe this will be a showstopper, pulling back the curtain on the mythical creature. Presumably, the Kukulkan or Kazakh. What the heck? That's at the heart of the Indiana Jones adventure would also make sense. Showing more of the temple inside and outside would also reinforce the ambition of the transformation, as it's still difficult to envision how the Dino Institute is going to become a remote Mayan temple. I'm sure they'll bring Kiwi Kwan back out for this. You remember what I said? Oh, get this thing out of here. I hate it so much. What I had originally said I thought was going to be the like the big selling point of this was I thought it was going to be Indiana Jones and Short Round, but Short Round as an adult. So I still think Kiwi Kwan is going to be in this. It's still difficult to envision how the Dino Institute is going to become a remote Mayan temple. From a planning perspective, the most intriguing possibility is Walt Disney World announcing an opening timeline for Tropical Americas. One thing we already know from the last D23 Expo is that it's slated to open in 2027. This was the first project to start with groundbreaking back on January 17th of 2025. In fact, Tropical Americas remains the only major project for either Walt Disney World or Disneyland with an opening year. Everything else you've seen concerning opening timelines for Monstropolis 2028, Piston Peaks Cars Land 2029, Villains Land 2030 or beyond is purely speculative based on educated guesses at best. When Tropical Americas will open is really what I'm wondering at this point. So I made a visit to Animal Kingdom to see what progress was. See the progress for myself in order to make a better prediction about what will be announced. So here's what he found. That's a lot of exposed steel there, Vash. Biggest development as of mid-August is actually what's missing from these images, the tower crane that's been assembling the Encanto show building and other large elements of Tropical Americas. Construction crews installed the large tower crane in Animal Kingdom for vertical construction of the Encanto show building in September 2025. Since then, it's loomed over the construction site and been visible from all around Animal Kingdom. Tower cranes are used to do the heavy lifting up to the highest reaches of construction sites, including but not limited to steel beams and other bulky materials. On Walt Disney World projects, they're typically used during the primary vertical stages of a project, often when the show building is being built or when structures are erected. So I guess he's saying here that he thinks that the vertical building is over because the crane is gone. Tower cranes typically come down once the show building is fully enclosed and the heavy lifting is done. What do you think?
I believe that's what he's saying. I think it's it's like, oh well, if the show building is fully enclosed and that way they can start shipping stuff in and maybe dressing up the exterior and so forth from sight lines and all of that. I don't know though. This seems pretty ambitious, and this is why I think the target date for a lot of these projects, at least historically, right, and where operations managers like to have these things open, has been at the very start of summer. I don't think any of this stuff is necessarily ready for its big debut for early summer 2027. I think for Encanto, that's probably going to be the last thing that opens. Indy is probably going to be the next thing the first of these big attractions to open, because it is just a reskin versus an establishment of an entirely new ride in Encanto. And then maybe some of the smaller exhibits and attractions will open very first, and perhaps that includes the carousel that they are building currently with the Indian carver there.
Right. So he says also that a smaller crane is still on site, is likely all it's needed for framing of the magical casita. That's what's pictured here, is the smaller crane. So speaking of which, it says the casita continues to rise in front of the massive show building, and that's what we're seeing right here is the show building. As we previously mentioned, the idea is to make the magical family home appear to be a freestanding structure, not a false facade on a gigantic show building. So that's fine. Just paint it blue. We won't even see it. Right,
yeah, exactly. Just goes right in with the sky. Can't even discern.
Paint blue and then a little bit of green so it blends in with the foliage. Yeah, no, we're fine. The show building behind it should be largely hidden from guest view by blocking sight lines via vegetation and other structures of Tropical Americas, including the elevated casita. We've seen comments from concerned fans where the structure is too small based on aerial photos. After seeing the casita in person from just outside the walls, I'm fairly confident this is not going to be a repeat of Be Our Guest restaurant and its infamous toy castle. The casita is considerable inside. Just wait till Villains Land comes out. More akin to Beast Castle at Tokyo Disneyland. It's much more prominent than the show building in the distance. So this is what it's going to look like here. We're going to have the casita looking like a freestanding structure. We'll have all of this vegetation blocking the show building. There will be, looks like some hills and stuff on top of the show building, which I would put money on are not going to be there. Off in the distance, you don't get the compression of images shot with the telephoto lens fool you. There's a lot of separation. You can see the steel mesh for the rock work concealed in the show building. So let's take a look here. Yeah, we got more work over here. I guess is that like a carousel? So work on this has been moving fast. We wouldn't be surprised if it starts taking its final form. Resembles a magical family home before Christmas. Yeah, the critter carousel. That's the other thing that we've got coming right here.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so beams are up for the carousel itself as well as the roof of the carousel queue. So here's some more photos. You know, they are building upwards, which is a, you know, I'm guessing this right here is going to be this entrance structure right here that we see in the concept art. Yeah.
The casita is basically like a 2-story Latin America home. So I would be shocked if they didn't actually bring that full scale. Like I'd be like, really? You couldn't build a home out in the middle of Florida?
You might as well, right?
Yeah, you might as well.
We've seen some rock work. Yeah. So now, Vash, here's my question about this. By the way, this looks nothing like this. So just to point that out. So this is opening 2027. What do we think this means for things like Cars Land and Villains Land? Because now Cars Land, I honestly think that there is a good chance that we don't get Cars Land until 2030.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we're looking at this timeline right here, I think they do want to kind of stretch all this stuff out. So I think the very earliest we might see Cars Land is 2029, but it's looking more like 2030 to me, Marvin, especially with the speed at which these projects are actually specifically moving, which might place Monsters Inc. at roughly 2028/2029, and then Villains Land beyond that. I think that is the timeline that we're actually looking at when it comes to these specific projects right here. Very interesting about Cars Land because it's one of the most developed projects. Apparently they're going to have a model to showcase for D23 recipients there over the weekend. They put out a video showing that they were shipping it, putting it out there, which will be interesting. But that's one of the first things that we get our hands on, and that's usually years in advance. So if we're looking at historically, it's like, I mean, we got an Avatar model kind of thing at the last D23 Ultimate Fan event in 2024, and we're not even close for that to break ground, at least at Disney California Adventure. So it's kind of like, okay, even though we see these things and we see these visualizations, doesn't mean it's going to be hitting a theme park anytime soon.
Outside of mentioning that these things are under construction, do you think we're going to hear anything about Villains Land and Cars Land at D23? Because I can honestly see a world, because it's not going to be open before 2028. So I think 2028 will be when they try to start really pushing that. Maybe even 2030, because I don't think Villains Land opens before 2030.
I think for Cars Land, or Piston Peak I think is what they're calling it, for that specific project right there, I think we get to see a bit. I think they heard that especially in the context of getting rid of Rivers of America back in the day, juxtaposing that footage of them, filling in Rivers of America and closing that off and getting rid of Liberty Bell, along with those kind of Doom Buggies footage right there, didn't actually go well back in the day. So I do think we actually get some visualization of what the replacement for Rivers of America will actually be, especially given that they're going to have the model and everything else. Villains Land, though, it's just so far out, Marvin. I'd be surprised if we even get a name for what it is, to be honest. I just don't think we're going to get much in terms of visualization. We might get, if we're really lucky, some kind of concept rendering showing from an aerial perspective what it roughly looks like, but we know that those can change a lot. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge did something like this, I think, back in 2017, and obviously when that land opened, it was much different, right? So I just don't see Villains Land providing any substantiation, at least at this expo. I think they're going to wait till probably the next one.
Agreed. So there you have it, guys. Tropical America is coming to you relatively soon. Everything else coming to you not very soon at all. So we're going to have to see what happens at D23 this weekend.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.